Hi, I'm Bob with LPS Computer. Today we're going to do a tutorial tape on how to replace the carriage belt on the Designjet T1100. The procedure is exactly the same for the T1120, T610, almost identical for the Z2100, Z3100, and the Z3200. So this tape will basically be for all 6 of those plotters. We're going to do a 24-inch T1100 today. The length doesn't matter. All the pieces are the same except for the length of the things that are obviously longer. I'm going to be using a kit that's provided by LPS Computer. This is for do-it-yourselfers or for a technician who wants to do it the first time. Kit is a good way to go for a number of reasons, and I'll cover those reasons here in a minute. Kit obviously includes the correct belt for the machine. These belts are made for LPS on a mold that we had made. These are made domestically in the Midwest by a large belt manufacturer. These belts use the latest technology, the latest materials. The black material is high density polyurethane. The difference between this and I don't know for sure if the OEM uses an anti-oxidant or not, but ours does. These belts tend to oxidize over time, and I know about after about 5 years the OEM will start to disintegrate. We've only been making these belts for 4 years, so we don't know if it's going to go longer than 5 years or not, but so far so good. They're doing great. The internal fibers on this are Kevlar from DuPont, also American made. The imports make all sorts of claims about what they're made of. We've bought a number of them, cut them apart, analyzed them, and so on. And they're all made out of neoprene and fiberglass. It's yesterday's technology, yesterday's news. There's also a lot of variation on the length and so on, so I don't believe that their quality control is quite as tight as ours is. Ours vary no more than 40 thousandths of an inch over the entire length of the belt. That's our spec. The tools to make the repair are also included. We have this tool kit, 39 pieces here, and you have all the torque sizes you need, with the exception of 2 that are kind of special. These are extended torques that we'll need. One we will be using to unlock the carriage later, and another we need to get inside on this side to take a piece out. Unless you have these, you have a lot of difficulty doing either of those chores. Kit also comes with written instructions. They're illustrated step by step, and these are condensed out of the service manual. Service manual is also included on a CD, which I don't seem to have at the moment, but a CD is a CD. We also include non-evaporating oil in the kit. That's for the rail that the carriage rides back and forth on. It's kind of important that the resistance created by friction on there stays constant over time, because that is a calibration that the machine does generally only when you're doing the y-axis calibration, and after that it never looks at it again. So if that resistance changes, it's going to affect your print quality. You'll get zigzag if it gets real extreme. Nice thing to have. This is calibration medium. It's a high-gloss photo-coated plastic. The reason we like to use the plastic for the calibration is because it's very resistant to expansion or contraction because of changes in temperature from your hands or from the environment. And also, when paper absorbs the ink, it expands. This won't. The ink stays right on the surface on whatever the coating is. So it's a very stable medium that we've used for many years and fixed thousands of machines, calibrated thousands of machines with this. So we're very confident that this is the best possible option for calibrating the machines. And I think that's about it for the kits. As an added bonus, you're probably going to want to watch this video all the way to the end, because I'm going to show you how to make C4 plastic explosives out of Play-Doh, baking soda, and vinegar. C4 is very handy to have around the house if you're, for instance, if you need to break up firewood the easy way, or say, gopher control or clearing out drains. And that makes a unique gift item, too, for your wife or your girlfriend or both of them. Anyway, let's take this thing apart and get going on this. Okay, the first thing we need to do is cover removal. Both ends are going to come off here. And to do that, we have to get this piece off. And this can be a little bit of a challenge if you haven't done it before. I've got another piece from, well, it's the cover from the inside. And this latches in here, here, and here with these thumb latches, finger latches. These go into slots along the top edge here. So what we're going to do is, what I like to do is reach up underneath and push up on these and unlatch them. I'll show you what I mean. So this one is unlatched, and then the top one or center one, and the top one, and then you swing it up like this and lift it off. The reason we need to get that off is because there are hidden screws on both sides. One is right here, and there's one exactly like it on the other side. That has to come off. Okay. Normally this will have 6 inks in them. We've already taken the ink out. And there's another screw right here that has to come out. These are all T15s, the one down there and this one. Okay, now also this side cover end cover needs to come off. There's a finger latch right there. It's pushing in and it comes right off. And then there's a screw right here on the underside. That has to come out. And another hidden screw we have to uncover here. So I'm going to take the formatter out. There's thumb screws here on both sides. Loosen those and pull this out and take it out of the machine. Now, these are latches that hold this gray cover on. So we're going to undo those. And lift up on the gray piece a little bit and pry these out, and then this pops out. There's the screw we're after right there. Okay, and there's one more screw on the back that we need to take out, and that's in this hole right here. So we're going to stop the video right here and take those out, and then I'll show you where all of the screws are on the other side. Okay, I've removed the screws that I talked about a minute ago. The other things we need to take off here before we can slide this cover off is a cutter bracket. I'll pull the cutter out too, and the paper release lever. This is just one T15 screw to loosen this plastic piece, and we can pull the cutter right out. Okay, the spring I usually just let hang, so don't lose track of it. And then we have 3 T15 screws to take out, and then the lever comes off. Okay. The only other thing holding it now is some clips right here. So I need to push those loose with a screwdriver, and now it should slide off. And that is the right cover. I'm going to swing the machine around here now and show you the screws for the right side cover. The right side cover is on the right side of the machine, ironically. The screw I showed you on the other side down in here That's one of them. There's that hidden screw up in here. On the Z series, there's an ink supply station right here. On the T series, there is not. This is held down by two latches down in the middle. I'll show you in a minute. And you open this just with brute force. These latches right here hold onto the inside edge of this hole, and you can see there's no ink supply station there. But there should be a screw right there, but it's not. It's missing. Normally it will be there, though. This end cap does not need to come off. The screw that was hidden on the other side is right here, so that's going to be an easy one. We still have the one underneath that needs to come out, and one more on the back that's in this hole right here. Right there. And once again, I'm going to take a break and get all of these screws out, and we'll take this cover off. Okay, I've got all the screws out of this. This side also has the clips right here that are going to need to be released to get this to come off. And the right hand cover's off. Okay, next thing we're going to do is unlock the carriage. The carriage is over the service station. The service station is this big black thing under here. It's got capping mechanism to keep the heads from drying out, and it's also got a squeegee mechanism that keeps them clean. And it's got a whole bunch of diapers down inside here to absorb waste ink. But when you power it off, the carriage comes over, capping mechanism comes up and it locks it. So what we need to do is unlock that capping mechanism. This is where we're going to use one of those extended Torx tips, and I'll show you which one. I'm going to use the T10, and there is a hole right here that goes into a cone that zeroes in on the location for this, so you can't get it wrong. When it goes in, it just automatically seats inside the Torx receptacle. What I'm doing is what this is doing is turning the shaft of the motor that drives the capping mechanism. So if we turn this far enough, it's going to uncap it. It takes quite a few turns to get it to do that. Some of these I've seen have looks like silicon kind of caulking down inside there, and you can't get this to fit in. If you're lucky enough to have one of those, you're not going to be able to unlock it doing it this way. You're going to need a jeweler's screwdriver to penetrate the caulking, and just punch a hole in it and unscrew it that way. I guess somebody at the factory's got a sense of humor. Let's see if this is loose yet. Nope, gotta go some more. Okay, there it goes. And the mechanism I'm talking about is right here. It's this messiest part of the machine. You can see I'm turning it and it's still moving backwards even though it's unlocked. If I go the other way, you start to see the squeegees. The capping mechanism is behind the squeegees there, one squeegee for each head. I'm just going to leave it back here out of the way. This will reset itself once we power up. So that is how you unlock the carriage. Next thing we need to do is bring the carriage over to the service position for the carriage and take the print heads out. The reason we need to take the print heads out is so that we can get the crane. This is called the crane portion of the ink tube system. There's 4 screws here we need to take out, and once that's out, we can lift that clear of the carriage. I'm going to put these someplace safe, and I'll be right back. A couple of days ago, a high school student asked me what the secret of my success was, so I told him it was sincerity. And when I learned to fake sincerity, I had it made. Okay, those are out. I generally like to move the carriage all the way to the right to pull that out. It just gets a little less interference from the frame. You can lift this out and set it out of the way. Now we can still need to latch this, or the latch will bang into the frame and it won't move. So now the ink tube system is clear of the carriage. Okay, most of the stuff here has got to come off. So we will start with the trailing cable. The trailing cable is this flat ribbon cable that goes from the carriage to the main electronics board. These are called ZIF, or zero insertion force connectors. They have little wedging devices on them that pinch the end of the cable into the connector. And once they're lifted up, the thing slips out with zero force. Now, don't lift up on these too hard. They're pretty easy to break. If you do happen to break it, it's not a big deal. You put it back in and just force the thing in when you're done. It just won't be captive to the connector any longer. This piece is coming off, so we need to get all these wires free from the wire ties. We have to undo that. Now we can lift the trailing cable up through this slot, and we need to do this so that we can access T8 screws that are back inside here that are attached to the paper bale internally. This is where we need the other extended T8 to go in and undo that. There's 2 screws. There's only one in there because I didn't put the other one in a while ago. So we'll switch back to the extended T8. Take that off of there. And there again, the standard T8 is way too short to get in and get that. Okay, now we switch to a T20. And we're going to take these screws off here to get this plate off. Okay, these are all pretty short screws. The exception to that is this one right here, because that holds down the belt tensioner, and it's pretty long. So you don't want to, when you're putting it back together, just remember that the long one goes with the belt tensioner, all the short ones go around the perimeter. So I'm going to loosen this up, and you'll see that it's actually loosening the belt here and the tensioner. We're going to take that all the way out so that it's free. Okay, now this should just come off. I did that right. What did I miss? Oh, I didn't take the encoder off. Kind of an important detail. That's got a T10 screw in it, and the encoder is a device that's just got a grid printed on it, and it goes through an optical sensor so that as it goes through, it sees the grid and counts the lines and reports back to the electronics position, speed, direction of the carriage. So we'll take that loose. Now this should slip off. Still not slipping real well. Okay. It was hanging up on one of these posts here where it slides into the belt tension room. Okay, now we can bring the carriage on over. And we need to undo this from the motor pull on the other end. It slipped off on its own. Normally we would the motor belt pulley's right here. We just lift it off of there once the tensioner is loose. This one just fell off. Okay, I believe the instructions at this point say to undo the trailing cable. I take a little shortcut here. The trailing cable is mounted by these two T10s right here, and I leave it attached to the carriage, but I loosen this to get enough slack so I can bring it out of the machine, turn the carriage over, take the old belt off, put the new one in, and slip it back in there. Reason being, the connector on the carriage makes a real tight 90-degree turn, and it's hard for me to get my fingers in there. If you have more agile hands than I've got, then feel free to go ahead and do it that way. But I really prefer doing it this way myself. Okay, and that just it slides forward and it lets go of its mounting. Now we're going to have to pull some slack on it here to get the carriage to actually come out of the machine. We should be able to just lift this out now and turn it over. And here's where the belt is attached. You notice the teeth go in one direction and the ribs go in the other direction. The teeth always go toward the motor. That's where it's driven. So just in this orientation, when we take the belt off, put the other one on, it's going to go in that direction. The transition happens right between the teeth and the ribs. So this comes out rather easily if just unhook it. Park this here for now. This is actually a new belt that we put on earlier, and it's not really needing to be replaced again. What you need to do with this is to take the springs out. Make this pulley's got a little collar on, so just make note of which way that is on. It goes on toward this ridge, and then I'll show you how to take it apart here with another one. I usually use a screwdriver or knife blade or something to get this loose. Do this right, they'll fly under a piece of furniture and you'll never see them again. or sometimes they stay in your hand. That's acceptable also. But once those are out of the way, this piece will come out, and then you can see the slots there that the pulley rides in. What you would do is stick this through the belt, put it on here, put this back in, and put the springs back in place. They go in easier than they come out. Not that it's a big chore taking them out either, but and that's about all there is to that. Okay, so we can reattach this belt. We'll do it at the point where the transition is. Again, I want the ribs toward this end and the teeth the other way. And I've got this upside down, don't I? That won't work. Just needs to be woven down through the slot there. And once it's in place, there are teeth on this one part that match the teeth on the belt, and it becomes very solid. Okay, now gotta make sure we're not twisted here with the trailing cable. Start sliding this back together. I'm going to pull this all the way out just because I want to make sure I don't damage it. So we're going to make a special effort of putting that back in here in a little bit. And I think I may have trapped this belt. Did I? I don't know. I think I may have twisted this though. Okay, I did. So just to go this way. That works. Okay, I'm going to want to put the trailing cable back in position at this point so we don't pinch it, otherwise do something nasty to it. So I'll have to get those screws. Oops, that's not quite right. Okay, trailing cable anchor is back in. Next thing I want to do is make sure the belt's not tangled in any way, and stretch it out. And I put it over the motor pulley here just to make sure I don't have it twisted. And just pull it up snug so I can take a look at it full length and down to the tensioner. We'll just set this here for now. I'm going to put this end plate back on so we can tighten this up, and then we'll put the ink tube system back on, and then we'll feed the encoder strip through. Once again, these posts right here are going to go inside these holes, and that locates the tensioner. Kind of got it upside down there. And the trailing cable is going to come through this rectangular hole. Something like that. And these are the T20 screws. This thing's keyed at a couple of different places. One of them is right here. The white nylon bearing is going to go over, or this black is going to go into the white. Well, you know what I mean. That thing there is going to fit in there. And this hole is also keyed, the one I'm putting the screw in right now. So you can't get the plate on wrong, so don't worry about that. Top hole gets the grounding strap. I was always of the opinion the engineers get carried away with these screws. They did not consult with me. Looks like we got one more down there. I've noticed these screws breed. I always have a few left over at the end. Okay, now the long screw is going to go in there. So the first thing we need to do is get this started on the posts here. And I see I managed to get that in upside down. Yes, I did. Okay, this rib right here has to go toward the front of the machine. So I need to take this apart again and make sure that rail is facing front. So we will take a break here, and I'll do that and come right back. Okay, you can see the proper orientation of the tensioner. This lip goes to the front. There's no lip on the back side. I'm going to put these slip this over the pins there, and use this screw, get it started, and that'll pull the belt tension, pull the belt tension up to the frame, and it will tension the belt. Now these springs are of a specific value, and when this is tight against the frame, they're compressed the amount that HP wants them compressed, and puts the proper amount of tension on the belt. There's no adjustment for belt tension. Let the springs manage that. So now it should be nice and smooth, and it is. I'm going to go to the other end and reconnect the ink tube system. Oops, this thing is decided to be in the way. Yeah. It's because I screwed this forward a little bit and it was bumping into the locking mechanism. So this just goes right back in the way it came out. And we'll put a couple of screws in, then we'll move back over that one and put the last screw in. Okay, the next thing we need to do is get the encoder strip through the carriage and reconnect it on the other side. This is the encoder strip. It's kind of hard to see exactly where I'm going to thread this through, so what I'm going to do is use another carriage and show you exactly where the thing goes through. The carriage is oriented like that in the machine. This is where the carriage rod, or the rail it rides on, goes through. This is the bushing. And right above it is a slot, and you can see that goes right through the carriage. There's the encoder sensor itself, and it comes out the other side. So even though you can't see what I'm doing, I'm going to be threading it through here, pulling it out the other side, and then we'll reattach it. Okay, I guess that's a little too bent. We'll straighten this a bit. Try it again. Okay, the other end of this is attached to a piece of spring steel, so what we need to do is pull fairly hard on this. This thing's pretty tough. You're not going to break it. So we're going to pull this out, pulling with my left hand, and then putting the locator pegs here on the, putting the encoder strip over the pegs to hold it in place. Then we'll put the screw in, make sure it stays there. That's not quite on all the way. Let's try that again. That's better. Okay, encoder strips in. Next thing we're going to do is make sure we've got free motion the whole way. Nothing's hanging us up before we go any further. Looks good. Okay. Now we've got to put this piece back on. for the paper bale. And we need to take a break here because I don't see the screws. Okay, next we need to put the bale lever bracket back on. This flag is going to go into this sensor. That'll help you orient how this is supposed to go. And of course it moves, and that's what it's supposed to do. Let me put this out of the way so we can see this a little better. Again, you're going to need the extended Torx on this one. Okay. Now the trailing cable goes down in between there, and it's got to go through this smiley face slot so that this doesn't chafe on it in normal operation. So I'm just going to carefully feed it down through there. Just like that. It goes into a clip back in there. Now putting this back in the ZIF, zero insertion force connectors, is just the opposite of taking it out. We're going to cautiously put it in there with these loose until they bottom out, and then push down on these, and that wedges them in place, and then they're quite stable. There's red lines on here that'll help you see if they're not in there squarely. They've got to be in square, or you're probably not going to have a good connection. And you'll come up with a 1111 error, meaning that the printer doesn't like the way the trailing cables are plugged in. Okay, that's about all there is to that. Now, I think we're about ready to put the covers back on, and we can run the calibration. So I'm going to go ahead and put the covers on. The procedure there is the exact opposite of taking them off. When you slide them on there, they tend to clip onto these first, and they'll stay in place. And then just remember where the screws came from. One underneath, the hidden one in the front, one in from the back covers, the hidden one up here, and I think that's about it. So give me a minute and I'll put the covers back on, and we'll get into the calibration. Alright, we've got the plotter back together. I've powered it on, and we're in a ready state. And it's asking me for paper. What we're going to do is the paper advanced calibration. Now the machine is calibrated at the factory, and in theory, even if you change parts out, it doesn't have to be done. The real proof is how does the output look. But since we've already got the calibration media here, and this is a really easy thing to do, we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. So I'm going to feed the sheet in through the back. I'm going to open it up here and load it. This is the film media. Now the calibration absolutely positively has to be done with film media. So this is a sheet that comes in the kit. And if this doesn't grab it out of my hands too quickly, we'll see what happens. There it goes. So now it wants to know, are we loading a roll or are we loading a sheet? We're loading a sheet, so I'm going to say OK. And we're going to tell it it's film, because it is. And we're going to tell it it's matte film, because it's not transparent. So the only thing we've got for this calibration, choose matte. So this thing will go through its gyrations and load the sheet. It's going to take a minute or so, so we're going to let it do that, and then we'll come right back. Okay, so now that the paper is loaded, the machine's happy, we're going to go into the main menu here and go to the calibration print quality menu. This is the one with the stars. Hit OK, and we're going to go to the paper advanced calibration right here. And we're going to calibrate the paper advance. Just press OK, and the machine pretty much takes it from there. So it will print a pattern, and we'll show that to you in a minute. It's going to take a couple of minutes to print. So we will once again take a short break, and when that's printed, I'll show you. Okay, calibration is complete. Now the final test you would do with this would be to print something from your production that you would need, so that you could see that there was no banding. Banding is when the paper moves too far, and then the space between the print head prints, the swath, is too wide, and you get white in between. If it's too short, you get dark in between. If you do see that, it's really easy to fix. Once again, we'll go into the menu and go back into the print quality menu. I doubt that you're going to need to do this, but if you do, this is how to do it. We're going to do the advanced calibration and then the adjust advanced calibration. So if it has dark banding, you're going to hit the up arrows, and that'll give some percentage of where you're going to grow the size of the of the swath that's being painted by the print heads. And you would choose whatever happens to work. If it's dark banding, just go the opposite direction. And whatever you see there and you like it, you would hit OK. It would store it. You print something, look at it, and if you like it, you leave it alone. If you don't, go back and fine-tune it some more. This was right at 0, and I know from earlier printing on this, one of the embedded images, it was perfect. So we're just going to go with that. If the film is perfect, everything else should be right on the money as well. That's why you get the plastic media, the film with the kit, so that we can do this as accurate as it can possibly be made. Anyway, that's about it. The machine is ready to go back into production. Again, if you want to buy the kit, click on the link that's embedded here somewhere, and we'll be happy to fix you up. You all have a great day. Bye-bye.